Hi, my name is Brian Worden. I'm a Stanford-trained ear, nose, and throat specialist. I've been in practice for 15 years, and I'm here today to share some useful insights about tinnitus. Now, first, let me say this is not a sales pitch. I'm just here to share some information that I hope that you find helpful. Now, over the course of my career, I've treated thousands of patients with bothersome tinnitus, and I can say without reservation that the healthcare system in this country does a pretty poor job of helping people that have this condition, and I think that we can do a lot better. Instead of standing on the sidelines, however, and criticizing and complaining about our healthcare system, I've decided to dedicate the rest of my career to improving the care of people that have bothersome tinnitus. And my first step has been to dramatically scale back my clinical practice in the office so that I can dedicate more time and effort to producing helpful, informative content online for people that have bothersome tinnitus. Now, first, let me acknowledge that I know most of you are coming to this with a lot of skepticism because you've likely been told by your primary care doctor or maybe even an ear, nose, and throat specialist that there aren't any good treatments for tinnitus out there. But in reality, there are a number of techniques that have been shown in well-designed clinical research studies to reduce the burden of tinnitus. It's just in this country, we've done a pretty poor job historically of connecting people with bothersome tinnitus with the treatments that can be helpful. And we may spend a future session talking about the reasons why in this country we're doing such a poor job addressing the burden of tinnitus. But for now, I'd like to start off by giving a brief introduction on the topic of tinnitus. As many of you may know, that term tinnitus is the medical name for a phantom auditory perception, meaning it is hearing a sound in your head that's not actually there. And classically, people describe it as a ringing in the ears, but it may not be a ringing. It could be a buzz, it could be a hiss, it could be the sound of static, it could be a jackhammer, it could be the sound of a person's pulse in their ear. These are all various forms of the same problem. Now, it's important to recognize that tinnitus is actually a very common perception. In fact, most people over the course of their life will experience tinnitus at some point. And for the vast majority of people, their brains will recognize that this tinnitus perception is a sensory experience that is neither threatening nor important, and their brains will tune it out. So it's something that fades into the background of their awareness and isn't something that persists as a bothersome sensation. However, for some, their brains make an error and they designate that tinnitus perception as something that is potentially threatening. And this triggers their brain to more closely monitor the tinnitus. And it may also lead to activation of a stress response and an emotional response that makes the whole tinnitus experience much more uncomfortable for people. Now, you may have heard that there's not really a quick fix for tinnitus. There's not a pill that we can give that's going to reliably make the tinnitus go away. There's not a surgery that we can do that's going to make the tinnitus immediately go away. But again, that doesn't mean that the situation is hopeless. I have helped thousands of patients improve the burden of their tinnitus, but our strategies are more aimed at changing the internal bodily environment so that our brain is more easily able to habituate to the tinnitus. So we must change the designation in the brain in people that have persistent tinnitus so that the brain can recognize that the tinnitus is in fact not something that is dangerous or threatening and worthy of constant monitoring. And then we can also do things to calm the overactive stress response system and other things that help to reduce the actual strength of the tinnitus signal, all the while trying to encourage the brain to habituate to the tinnitus. And we're going to spend a lot of time in future sessions talking about the details of that. So I hope that you'll continue to follow us for updated information and other useful content. I hope that you found this information today helpful. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, you can like and follow us on Facebook. And I hope that you will find this information helpful and that we can, over time, see meaningful improvements in your tinnitus. That's my ultimate goal.